I rode BMX for 18 years. It was my lifelong passion. I gave everything for it. I sacrificed and I got to ride amongst the best. I got to the top. Um, by 2015, I was at the peak of my career, but I was also dealing with massive lower back pain. I didn't know back then, but I had two lower back herniated discs. At one point, I was doing HIIT training. I was training with a heavy kettlebell, and I felt something giving out in my lower back. But since I was always dealing with lower back pain ever since I'm a teenager, I thought I was only dealing with lower back sprains. So I kept riding like through the pain. I kept competing for a whole year, man. Like I was attending contests, and people must have thought that I was a drug addict or something because I just kept taking Advils to mask the pain and right at the contest. But by the end of 2015, man, my back was so trashed. Usually, I would feel the pain in my lower back area, the left side, but sometimes the pain would be so intense it would shoot through my left glutes and go down my leg. And that's pretty much the worst I got. And it was a lingering pain. It was kind of always in the back. Like it was really hard to overcome that pain because I had to go through with my life. I still had to go to work. I still have to attend my duties. And somehow I would keep on riding and I would keep re-injuring um, my lower back, which was adding insult to injury. So even though I was experiencing tremendous pain, I had a clear diagnosis, I had a physio protocol and a stretching protocol to rehab myself, alleviate the pain, and eventually kind of recover from that injury, I would still try to ride. It didn't matter. I was so addicted to riding. It was my only purpose at that time, like I said before. So it was like super hard for me to quit. But at one point, it became a negative thing. It was no longer something fulfilling or gratifying. It just became an immense source of pain. That's it. That's all it was. I would show up at the spot and I would almost injure myself every single time. And I would injure myself in more and more basic tricks up to a point where I couldn't really ride like I used to. So there was no real fun for me in riding. It was just pure addiction. In a sense, you can see it that way. It was short-term pleasure that was leading to long-term suffering. Okay, so right now I'm gonna make a small detour and I'm gonna go back in time and talk about my drinking history. So you can see the parallel between that and riding and how I got to quit both. So I started drinking when I was around 12 or 13. And I would mainly drink during parties and on weekends. That's it. There was nothing else. But when I reached my 20s, I went to China. And that's when all hell broke loose because there was no supervision. It was kind of part of the lifestyle as well. Like drinking is super encouraged in China as well. They always want to see how much you can drink. It would basically become a competition. I would drink as much as I would ride. So you can easily imagine especially for the people who knew me, how that escalated pretty quickly. And 5 years in, I was drinking like almost every day and pretty heavily. And I had no idea that it would take me into such a dark path at one time. It was super problematic. And around my early 30s, I think I was 28 back then, right before I came back to Canada. I think I drank for a streak of 2 or 3 weeks nonstop. And at one point, I started to experience some super nasty side effect, like allergic-like symptoms. My throat would become super tight. It would feel like my hands were covered in ants, that kind of buzzing, and my lungs were severely impacted. It was terrible. Like I lost a lot of cardio back then, and I couldn't drink. I couldn't drink anymore. Otherwise, I was just experiencing those severe symptoms. But be it as it is, uh, I kept seeking it. So I would take some breaks for a period of time, with the hope that I would recover. But stupidly enough, I would get back into it and re-experience those symptoms. And there was also another hidden symptom that took me a long time to notice, which was depression. So it didn't matter that I drank once once a week or only had one drink. I would have severe headaches, and a few days later, I would experience depressive symptoms. At the same time, I was doing a lot of Zen meditation, and luckily for me, that helped me bring a lot of awareness and truth to that issue, which was shedding light on the fact that this short-term pleasure that a lot of people indulge in, especially in social setting, was leading to days of suffering, both physically and psychologically. So I had also at that time the contrasting effects of being sober, and I gave it long enough that I could see the benefits. I was way sharper. I would experience a lot more vigor, a lot more energy, and when I would drink, I would experience the complete opposite. My energy would feel like it was draining out. I would experience depression, so I could contrast between both. In the end, I chose health and well-being. And that's where I shifted all my energy, my attention, and my focus. So if you are struggling with any addiction of the kind, this is what you have to do. You have to build something of such an incredible value that is going to make your addiction pale in comparison. And that's what I did with health. Like, once I got to experience optimal health, I didn't want to go back there. I didn't want to drink. It didn't make sense anymore. It didn't resonate with me. But as you can see, even nowadays, like back last year and this year, I think I had some drinks like once or twice during that year, and every time I would go back to the same symptoms, and I was completely disgusted, and it would take me a while to fully recover the new person that I had become. So at one point this year, I was like, fuck this, now this is really over. I'm not drinking for myself, and I'm surely not drinking for anyone. So this is how you gotta do it. If you're ever struggling with any kind of addiction, you got to choose another path, and you got to make that the most important thing. So now I'm going to bring it back to writing. So here's the similarity between both of those things. So when I drank, short-term pleasure, long-term suffering. When I got back to writing, every single time, short-term pleasure, long-term suffering. It would leave me paralyzed. I was stuck at home, or I had to go to work, and I was experiencing pain, limiting my movements and everything. It just made my life horrible. At one point, I really had to sit down with myself and adopt a long-term vision. So I really have to ask myself the hard question: do I want to keep writing and keep experiencing that present pain right now and make it even worse in the future? Because you have to think that herniated discs are not getting better. It's degenerative. There's really no becoming better in re-injuring myself. I'm only making it worse, and I'm increasing the chances that I will become old and fucked up, and I have no mobility, and maybe even I cannot even train. Or right now, I cut the cord with writing. I make the hard choice, and I turn my life around. So it was at that time that I came to the conclusion that my health, mental and physical, and also my overall well-being were more important than writing. And it was a super, super hard decision. I can recall, like, when I made the definite decision that I wouldn't write anymore, I was going to work, and I was almost crying, and I was in public. So it was really, really a hard time, but I'm glad I made that choice. So as you can see, similar method to overcome an addiction. I was confronted by the same issues. I had to project myself in the future, ask myself the hard questions, and in the end, I chose something of greater value compared to what writing was offering me. I chose well-being. And at first, it was nothing fun. It was nothing motivating. I just kept showing up and putting in the work until I could see some tangible results and I could move on to something else. But don't expect that to be a motivating journey when you make some tough decisions like that. I think a lot of people are under the impression that you have to be motivated, or things have to be easy, or you always have to be in the right mindset, and everything has to be aligned at first for you, like a paved golden road where someone is going to take you to the gym if you want to quit drinking and develop better habits. That's not how it happens. You got to keep showing up for yourself and put in the work. But if you do it long enough, one thing is for sure, you're gonna start seeing some results, and that's when you're gonna start experiencing another kind of motivation. It's a constant reaffirmation process of putting in the work and redirecting yourself where you wanna be and the person that you wanna become. And for me, that was a long experimenting process of trying yoga, doing kettlebell trainings, doing HIIT trainings. I was going into staircases with my kettlebells. It was winter or summertime. I didn't care. I was just putting in the work, mixing it with calisthenics exercises. And at one point, my best friend introduced me to calisthenics, and that was the beginning of a new journey. And eventually, I did a lot of Chris's area trainings that he has online, and boom, I was in another direction. I did a personal trainer certification. I got way more serious into calisthenics and street workout. I started lifted weight again, and boom, here I am right now, a mindset and flow state coach. So when you embark on such a journey, you can expect that to be like a walk in the desert, and don't expect all of your friends to follow you. You might be alone to pursue that path, but know that you're doing that for your well-being. Know that you're doing that not only for yourself, but you're doing that for others. When you make critical changes like that, it might feel like the total opposite at first. Like when I embarked on my sober journey and I quit writing, no one wanted to listen to my problems. It was like I was a nuisance or something. But I kept going and I kept pursuing that path, knowing that something else would replace that bad habit and lead me into another realm. That's all I can say about it. It's a completely other realm. And remember that when you keep showing up for yourself and you do so long enough, you're going to start to experience a new lifestyle, a new mindset, a new type of well-being. And when you do that and you experience those results, you're not only transforming for yourself, you're transforming for others as well. And the more you keep doing that and the more people are going to see the results of your transformation, the more you're going to impact their lives. And then people are going to start asking you questions and they're going to think about following you. So if you're stuck in a similar situation where your mindset don't match your lifestyle, you have a hard time opting out, you're trying to change, but you don't know what to do or you don't know which direction to take, come and connect through Instagram. This is my new passion, to help people going through the process of personal transformation without the unnecessary suffering. So at least when you walk in the desert, you're not alone. You have a clear picture, you have a clear direction of where you can go and what you can do, and you don't have to suffer alone like I did. If you enjoyed what I shared with you today, make sure to click the thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel. Leave a comment, let me know what you want to hear in the next video, and you can also follow me on Instagram at @TJP. I will leave my account in the description below. And may you achieve your full potential. Until next time.